Time after time. Happy Wednesday. I am so glad you take a moment to join us here on Get to Know Bob for another amazing conversation. I am your host, Sonia Weaver. I want to say if you are here in the Metro Detroit area, I'm just praying that you're staying warm, praying that you're staying bundled up, praying for those that are homeless, those that are in need, and just knowing that these are the times where we reflect on community. At least I do. I feel more connected and more connected to people who, I'll be honest, I don't readily think about every day in my day-to-day movement. So when adversity happens, they tend to be in the forefront, and I know I need to do better. That's just me. That's me being transparent. I didn't expect to release that, but it was maybe a need to be said. Whoever's watching it, and it's okay. This is when we can come together. I am really excited about our conversation this evening, so I am not going to delay. I first had got a lot of people tagging me on this particular Bob. So I'm really excited to share with you what my visit was like. So those who know I live in the downriver area, and this is Sister Rose Street Eats in Allen Park, Michigan. Sister Rose Street Eats. I'm saying it right. And so as you can see, it has a really cool vibe on the inside. The colors are vibrant. You have pretty much that popping green color. And I like the characters. They were unique. They're all throughout the establishment. This green and yellow is popping. And this is the proprietor. So I have a sister roll that I got. They have veggie ones, they have corned beef ones, just a variety of different types. Of course, they have pizza rolls. I would say definitely a thumbs up for Sister Rose Street Eats. Thank you guys for tagging me on this. So if you are in my backyard, downriver area, I would say thumbs up. Visit Sister Rose Street Eats. Now, for those of you who are watching your weight and your figure and all those good things, or staying away from fried foods, or this spot wouldn't be for you possibly because they are deep fried egg rolls. But no, if you can splurge a little bit here and there, I would definitely say it is worth the trip. So Sister Rose in Allen Park. And of course, I'm working behind the scenes to bring the proprietor on. Gotta find out her why. How did she get into that market, and what made her open her restaurant and the location, etc. So that's a conversation that I cannot wait to have. So we're working on that as we speak. Tonight's show is really going to be a phenomenal show. If you were here before when we had our guest that is going to be on tonight, before we go into tonight, I want to encourage you, if you missed last week, the conversation with the phenomenal Crystal Gunn, we shared some tips. We hope we encouraged you. It is the beginning of the year. It is not resolution, but it's definitely an opportunity for you to make goals. It's time for you to set your goals, especially your financial goals. And it's just maybe tweaking some things, being more intentional. She is offering those office hours. Take advantage of those office hours that we talked about. We'll be talking about them at some point in the show. It's highlighted again. But make sure you take advantage of Crystal every single day, Monday through Thursday from 12 to 1. Check out the show where she talked about more tips as well. On tonight's conversation, we are bringing back the phenomenal Dr. Portia Lockett, founder of the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation. Welcome, Dr. Portia. How are you?
I am amazing, just as you are,
Um,
Sonia. So glad to be back again. Yes.
Oh, I am so glad to have you again. That beautiful smile and everything. I looked at every single picture on your page, even the one that we have for the flyer, and the smile never changes. It is just joyous. I love it. I want you to take an opportunity like we did before in your own words. I would love for you to self introduce. Tell the viewers just a little bit about who you are, what you think people might want to hear and connect with, some special things that are about you, what you do, and then most importantly, why you do what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that opportunity once again. As Sonia said, I am Dr. Portia Lockett, and most of all, I just want people to know that I am a very uh, child of God, who I am very, very proud to be called that a child of God, and just a open, willing vessel being used by him every single day. So I'm on a serious assignment right now, and I am the CEO and founder of the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation, where we help you heal, offer you hope, and hold your heart as you are traveling along the journey of grief. And a lot of times people think grief is just about the loss of a loved one, but grief has taken on a whole different level. When you think about grief, think about the fact that there may be someone who is grieving because they're without a home right now. We're out in the cold and they don't have a place to live at this particular time. So that person is grieving because they have lost their home. Then you may have an individual who may be going through a divorce, or lacking or dealing with a long-term relationship that has dismantled. Then of course you may be dealing with someone who has recently lost a job, lost a home, lost hope. We were all experiencing some type of loss during the last 3 years, when we were all experiencing the unprecedented times of COVID-19. Someone out there may be having the experience right now of losing that pet, or being diagnosed with a chronic illness, or just being in a space where they lost self-love.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you think about all those different things, there's probably about 40 different ways that you can suffer or deal with or travel down the journey of grief. And so the foundation is here to be able to support those individuals. We have a lot of programs that we're going to be doing this year. We celebrated 1 year last year, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I just enjoy doing that. Along with me being the CEO and founder of the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation, I am a chaplain. I am a spiritual advisor, and I am a grief recovery method specialist, and I am a lover of people. So I
Yeah.
love meeting people right where they are, escorting them to where they desire to be, but especially escorting them to where God desires for them to be, and making people connect with one another, and making them feel good about themselves no matter where they are in life. That's
Yes,
who I am.
yes.
That's what I want you to know.
And I would definitely concur. If nothing else, this is how I can describe one attribute. Dr. Portia Lockett has a heart that she wears on her total totality. She is a walking heart that loves unconditionally. And you don't always find that genuineness. So when you do, you can definitely, it shows like wherever you're at, even when she's busy, because I see her at her event move, but she always stops to have a smile along the way. She might do a 1 minute, but she stops and eye contact, smile. That's a heart. She cares even in the busyness of things. And I just noticed that about you right away when we met. And I'm just honored that I can call you in my circle now. It's just
Yes,
it's just
yes.
phenomenal when you can have that type of energy around you. I just want to encourage you for all of the work that you're doing. You talk about being a chaplain, you talking about sewing into people and encouraging people. I know that you're giving of your well And I just want to keep you encouraged and keep you filled for you to walk in your ministry and in your purpose.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, for those who may not know, when you say you're the founder of the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation, of course, I know the story of how you got started and what motivated you to start. But do you mind sharing? And we are going to be talking about the previous events that you've had. So if you don't want to go into those details yet, that's good. But just kind of like, how did you get on this path?
Well, sure. So for close to 20 years, I've always been in a position in that space of supporting individuals who are grieving. You know, as I mentioned, I am a hospital chaplain. And so I support people I always say, from the cradle to the grave and from the womb to the tomb and everything in between. And
Mhm.
so being right there when, other individuals are experiencing a loss and supporting them in this journey, whether it's just being there present, when it first, at the onset, it could be a situation where individuals are at the bedside when their loved ones are in the process of transitioning or going into hospice or, experiencing dementia, all of those different components. I am that person that you may call just to be present and be supportive in that space. Right. And so then there may be a situation where, there's a mother and a father who is expecting to have a full term delivery. And then you're right there with that those individuals' families, holding their hands when they get the news that the baby did not make it full term, or it was a full term baby, but it didn't make it past that first hour of delivery.
Wow.
And so, I'm always there, right? And so in December of 2020, my middle son, Azel Benet Lockett, received his wings. He was murdered in Atlanta. And one of the things I heard God say is, I'm going to get the glory out of this. And at that moment, I really didn't know what he meant by getting the glory out of it. So I had to get in that position, that position, and just be still and know that God was God.
Mhm.
And just being still and being patient and waiting on my assignment. So the assignment was to be able to start a foundation to honor God and to honor my son, Azel Benet Lockett. So it's the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation. So
Mhm.
and he was very specific. He said, you're going to help people heal, offer them hope, and hold their hearts, regardless of the type of grief that it is. And so I'm
Mhm.
very excited the fact that we just concluded the first year anniversary of the
Yes.
Able Foundation. And it's built on the premise of God is able to do exceeding and abundantly above anything you could ever hope for or ask. So the
Mhm.
initials are ABL. So it aligns with that scripture. God is
Is
able. So
able.
he is able
Yes.
to use even this situation where the enemy tried to turn for bad. God turned this thing around for the good. And we're
Mhm.
to be able to help those individuals who are traveling that journey. And I'm just excited about the fact that God chose me. No, am I glad I lost my, but
No, of
something
course
good
not.
is coming out of it where I can take my pain and turn it into a purpose and have purpose driven grief where I'm able to help other individuals on a daily basis.
And that's what I was thinking as you were saying. And thank you for sharing that, because someone watching is walking that path or has walked that path, and they are not in the place that you're at. And not to say, I know each day is different, but I'm just thinking like, wow, the loss of a child has to be so devastating. And even this in my mind, thinking about it, how can you even go on, much less so into people the way you do in honor of your son? I mean, I know that had to be a process that you went through. Just for giving maybe a couple of tips to people who might be in your shoes, what can you offer them as encouragement or hope to see that God is able even in that situation?
Yes. Just to be open to receiving help, acknowledging the fact that you cannot make this journey alone, and knowing that you're not alone. There are several resources that are out there. If you need a counselor, find that counselor. And that's one of the things that we do. We refer individuals to, counselors and to therapists that are in need, or even to a support group.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just, sitting down with your spiritual leader and having a conversation, right?
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
or or just for me myself, I had to pull back from everything that I was doing. I had to put my own personal life and everybody else on pause for a minute, because I said, if I can't heal, if I can't feel what I'm really feeling and being honest with myself, I can't begin the healing journey. So you have to feel in order to heal, in order to move forward. So
Okay.
just being true and honest to yourself, and don't worry about what anybody says. Grief doesn't have it's not a destination. It is a
Right.
journey. And
Mhm.
don't allow anyone to say things like, you've been grieving now for 2 months, you've been grieving now for 2 years, or your loved one transitioned 15 years ago and you're still having a hard time. Well, I had one of my clients, mentioned to me that her mom lived to 95 years old and she was a 65-year-old woman. So if you have somebody in your life for 60
Yeah.
years, then all of a sudden that person is no longer in your life. It's going to take a little bit more than 65 days,
Yeah. Yeah.
65 hours,
That's
to make.
exactly the same thing. I kind of related to my mother and her siblings. People
Yes.
say, my grandmother died at 105 a year ago, September 2000.
Mhm,
So it was a year, September
mhm,
2023.
mhm, mhm,
And I have to tell people, yeah, my
mhm.
mother's in her 70s. So, but she's 70 with her mother in her life for
Yes.
70 years.
Mhm.
So that is a constant for a long time. And
Yes.
for that now to not be there,
Mhm,
and then
mhm.
she had a moment where something traumatic happened. And the first thought is that if my mother was here, I would have drove over just to be in her presence.
Mhm.
And I can understand, it's nothing like a mother's love. So I agree and I concur with you so much.
Mhm. And then
Before,
there's a lot of times people too who have different relationships, with their parents. A dear friend of mine, recent just lost his father the other day, and he was the primary caregiver of that father. And so being there present with your loved one every single day may have a different impact on
yes,
someone who had a distant relationship, maybe lived in a different state, or
yes,
did not have the relationship that they desired because of some things
yes,
that maybe happened in the past, where they were never in a position to be able to forgive each other, or that person was not active in their lives, but they were still living and now they're no longer here. So depending on the relationship, and every relationship is different, and we
yeah,
all grieve differently, and you have permission to grieve. No matter what it is you're going through, you have permission to grieve, specifically when you lose a loved one.
yes, yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because the relationship and does definitely make contributes to the process of what you may be feeling, how you go through the grief and mourning process.
Yes.
I know my aunt was having what we call automatic pilot moments, because she was her
Mhm.
caregiver. So
Yes.
just waking up, because that's what she did at certain times to check, and
Mhm.
then catching herself making that wake up and couple steps to then be
Yes.
hit with reality again. And
Mhm.
so it was a different process for her because of the automatic pilot of being a caregiver. I'm so
Mhm.
glad you mentioned that as well.
Yes.
For
Mhm.
those of you who've missed our previous conversation, and before we continue this one, I want to make sure that the last time that Dr. Portia Lockett was on the show was June 14th. So when you're on YouTube, do a search for our June 14th live, and you can hear that conversation with more details. Before we go into our next question, we're going to take a moment to acknowledge our core members who have sponsored this segment show. Be right back.
Promote restoration of our communities. The core membership is a group of dedicated Black business owners who believe in supporting one another and the importance of Black businesses thriving. Join today to make a difference in your community.
Detroit Metro Plug podcast features interviews with Detroit change makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. They believe connection matters. Their goal is to help entrepreneurs and community leaders increase
You're
their
up for an
reach.
exciting journey. Youth ages 10 through 16 years old. Join BUF's Adventures in Literacy program. Enroll now and embark on a literacy experience like never before. Visit www.buffme.org.
Operation Refuge now enrolling kindergarten to 12th grade, all school districts welcomed. The After School Boost is a safe after-school program that provides students with educational enrichment with a boost of fun and structured activities after school in their community. Contact Barbara Green or email operationrefugeprograms@gmail.com.
Virtual office hours with financial strategist Crystal Gunn. Your daily dose of financial empowerment. A journey towards financial wisdom and small business mastery. Monday through Thursday, 12 p.m. through 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Personal finance and small business strategies.
This Friday night decompression session hosted by Sonia M. Weaver and Jason Integrity. Come celebrate the wins, let go of the stress, vent, share, and encourage. Register on Alignable.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to YouTube, search Deals with Bob and click the subscribe button.
Welcome back. I would like to ask this question now. Normally I have it later on, but we talked about how you sow into people. How do you stay encouraged? Now I know, of course, your faith got to be one of the first foremost, but isn't it a little emotional or draining? Or how do you stay encouraged and just to keep doing that type of ministry work?
You know what? For me, I have learned to surround myself with some powerhouse folks that keep me covered. If something is going on with me, I have certain people that I can just text message and just says, hold me up for this reason, or this is what I need you to intercede on my behalf for, or intercede on the behalf of the foundation, or intercede for this other person. But I have learned to just reach out and ask folks, like, look, I can't do this by myself. I need someone to pour into me. If I just drop in your spirit pray, that means you need to be praying for me, right?
Yes.
And so the other things I have to do for myself is take care of me, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. So on a regular basis, I go get a massage. I allow myself to be able to release the stress. I love traveling. So this past December for my birthday, I took a me, myself, and God trip.
Okay. Where'd you
I
go?
went on a cruise. I went on a cruise. And when I say it was me, myself, and God, I was me, myself, and God in my room. Maybe I had one meal with one other person, which was a very, very short meal of someone that I met that was on the cruise with me. But for the most part, I sat and I engaged, with God. I did a few activities. I did walking. I walked on the beach. I laid by the pool. Everything I did, it was just on my time. And if I didn't feel like getting out the bed at a certain time, I didn't. I did a lot of reading, a lot of journaling, a lot of time where I was just able just to be still so that God could pour into me, so I could get restored, get rebooted, get renewed, all those things that I had to read. I was able to unplug. I wasn't on social media, and it was so funny because, a lot of my friends were saying, we want to go celebrate with you your birthday, and we want to come with you. And my sisters, are you sure you want to go back? I said, I heard God very clearly. You're going to take this trip by yourself. It was a me, myself, and God cruise, me, myself, and God trip. A lot of people talk about solo trips, which is fine. But it's with the intention of going and having fun and meeting people, where I was not trying to meet anybody.
Right.
I just wanted to meet up with God.
Right.
We could just, spirit to spirit, have some father-daughter time when I was just like being still. So things like this. I love walking. I love riding my bike. I love working out. I love being able to, read, and sometimes listening to, podcasts such as yourself, where I'm able to learn different things and extract. I love movies. And so lately, it's really been interesting that I've come across a lot of movies where there were some segments in the movies that talked about grief. And so I kind of like tune in a little bit and to find out how people who are going to different types of grief are dealing with it. Right.
Oh, wow.
The last movie that I saw was over the weekend. I saw The Book of Clarence, and there was just so many levels of grief, in that movie. And it was just like, wow. And there's another movie called Unscratched that's on Netflix right now. And there was a scene where, you got to write this down. It was really good. It's Unscratched. It was this love movie. It was so full of passion. And I'm not going to tell you all of it, but there was a scene towards the end of the movie, and I do believe it's a series, actually, not just a movie. It's a series where one of the without me telling too much, somebody passed away, right? And so there were two sisters. They were having a conversation, and one was having a hard time dealing with her loss. Okay. And the sister went in and said, "You got to get up. Your daughter needs you, and you stink. Wash yourself up." She just said those words. I'm just being nice. She was like, "Wash yourself." But it was just so cool because everybody deals with grief differently.
Yes. And that's very real that you can find people that they, you know, days for them just becomes minutes. It does, and they're just been sitting and at some point, I mean, we mentioned earlier, you don't want to try to dictate and tell people what they should and shouldn't do.
Yes.
But there is some things that are unhealthy in the process of grieving, wouldn't you say? And so if you found a loved one who was doing such things, like, you have to, like, remember you're here, you're still living.
Yes.
People still need you and depend on you and love you.
Yes.
I would say that would be okay if it's done correctly. Because there can be times where the process may actually be hurting the individual, and they need the guidance towards someone to help them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can just always just say, never try to, push yourself or force yourself on someone. Sometimes being present is just the best present. Just being present, being right there, letting someone know, if you need me, I am here. There are several times when I just went to someone's house and I just sat there with them and I just held their hand. I just their head and just place it on my shoulder, and I'm just here.
Yeah.
If you want to cry, we'll cry together. If you want to laugh, we'll laugh together. If you want to go back down memory lane, we'll go back down memory lane. One of the things that I've done also that I didn't mention earlier is I write a column for the Michigan Chronicle, on a monthly basis, talking about grief. People grieve differently during the holidays. People, men and women, gender grief, dealing with a relationship, loss of a relationship. So all these different components that lead to one grieving. So there's a lot of different tips there. And then also I created, and you can find it on my website at drportialockett.com. I created a healing card deck where you can move through the process at your own time, where you can just choose a card. One card may just simply say, today is a good day to reconnect. And reconnect means this is a good day to return 5 phone calls, return 5 email messages, return 5 text messages, whatever it is, reach back out to the community that has been reaching out to you. Another card may say simply something to the point of, today is a good day to handle your finances. Go to the bank. Close down those bank accounts, close down those credit cards. What's in the safe deposit box? Anything that is related to finance, this is a good day, a good week to be able to do this. But then on a happier side, today is a good day to go to Home Depot and buy a tree and plant it in your backyard, or plant it somewhere near the place where you worship, or have a celebration and have a karaoke party. And if your loved one was really into music, and just to say they like jazz or they like R&B, invite maybe 20 people over, turn it into a big potluck, and only sing the songs, karaoke songs that represent that person's genre of music.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So there's 2 cards that you can go. You can do it as an individual. You can do it as a family. You can do it with a partner. So these are different things. And these are all things that I have collected along the way, things that I've used personally, or things that I read up on that I've advised other individuals to be able to do. Everybody's situation is different. And as Jill Scott says, everything ain't for everybody, but there's something in there for everybody. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That is just amazing. I'm just thinking about some of the things, and I love the healing card deck. It seems like it's really a good tool and a resource for people to just even celebrate the life. We talk about it as grief and as mourning. And at some point, it's also the celebration of the gift of that person being here and having to have known them and to be in their energy. And sometimes it does need to be celebrated. And even celebration is a form of the healing process.
And it comes with a journal as well. So because there's a lot of different prompts that will guide you to write certain things. One of the cards even tells you to write a dear blank letter. So
Oh,
it could be a
wow.
letter where you're writing to your mother, to your grandmother, where you're just saying, dear mom, I miss you so much. Thank you for teaching me how to be the woman that I am today. I would never have gotten to this point. I would not have evolved into the woman that I am today if it weren't for you pouring into me, affirming me every single day. I am the best cook now because you taught me how to make that macaroni and cheese, candy yams, black eyed peas and all those different things. So you're writing this letter. But on the flip side, it may be a letter of forgiveness where you're writing it to that
Mm.
person,
Mhm.
where you never had an opportunity to resolve a situation where there was a lot of conflict or pain. I always use this, where there may have been a father, who had multiple sets of children. And so
Mm.
now your dad is now, and he has no insurance policy, right? So, Papa
Right.
was a rolling stone everywhere he laid his head was his home. And when he died, all he left us was this situation. Now we got to take out a loan to bury dad. But I forgive
Right.
you. Okay.
And it's all kinds of things that can be left behind. We know that
Absolutely.
contribute to
Yeah.
the stress of the mourning process.
Absolutely. Yes.
Woo.
So there's a lot of different things that you can get from that. Even if you're not having an issue, yourself, you may know someone that is. And then on the other side, just like you, Sonia, we started my spiritual daughter and I, Angel Morel Brown, we started a podcast called The Grieving Journey Podcast.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
all we talk about is different components of grief too. So you have the articles that you can get from the
When
Michigan
does that
Chronicle.
where can people watch that at?
Yeah, it's on most platforms, streaming platforms. Yeah.
Okay.
Where you have the podcast, the Grieving Journey podcast.
The
Yes.
grieving journey. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And I love the card deck. I'm gonna have to order some of those, to
Yes.
have at my mother's practice
Mhm.
for the clients that are
Yes,
going
that
through
would be
grief.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, that sounds awesome. So, Dr. Portia, before we go into the next segment, which we're going to be sharing what you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to go into more details about what God instructed you to do. We're going to acknowledge this segment's core businesses and events.
Professional coaching. Sonia M. Weaver Coaching uses a direct approach that makes each client accountable for their own personal success by guiding them towards making a plan to reach their full potential and goals. Sonia M. Weaver Coaching assists people with thinking outside the box and getting to know themselves in new ways and assisting them achieve the success they never dreamed possible.
Boss Entertainment Group Detroit is a collection of independent business, artistic, innovative, technical, and live performance minds. Boss provides data management, media production, graphic and flyer production, video editing, general promotion, and live performances. Boss has a foundation built on cooperation, mutual business success, and community empowerment. We are the goal.
We are the goal. We are Boss Entertainment Group Detroit, the premier independent business, media, consultation, performance, and music hub in the United States and Detroit. We now present our Boss Live Show highlights. Here are some amazing clips from the virtual show featuring Max Suavo. To see the entire legendary show, please go to YouTube at Max Suavo Rhythms.
Beyond Broken Inspiring Lives After Loss. Presented by Tranquility Christian Counseling. Group session Friday, January 19th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. 24100 Southfield Road, Southfield, Michigan. Register today on Eventbrite.
A conversation for the ages presented by Building Black Brick Masters, a multi-generational men's discussion series. Saturday, January 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at New St. Paul, 15362 Southfield Freeway, Detroit.
Not your traditional vision board party. Linked has taken vision to the next level. Empower your tomorrow, wear your vision today. Come beat your 2024 vision bracelet and or your I Am Affirmation bracelet. Saturday, January 20th, anytime between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. at 24100 Southfield Road, Southfield, Michigan. Register today.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to YouTube, search Deals with Bob, and click the subscribe button.
And we're back. So this is a great place to be. And I say that because I firsthand have been to every one every single one. And I just want to hear from you and your opinion. First of all, you have been obedient. You listened to God, and I thank you for your obedience. These events have had each unique impact on me, and just being present and what they brought, I mean, was unique. I can definitely share my testimony of being a witness and being there. But I just want you to take us through. You specifically said, I heard God tell me this is what I would do.
Mhm.
How did that formulate, and then it came to fruition? Just
Yes.
kind of sum that up for us.
You know, it's really interesting how, I have these conversations, with God, but I was literally in the food court of the hospital where I work. And I was just thinking about, nobody really knows who the Able Foundation is. And so it was like, okay, we got to get out there. We got to let people know who we are. Well, who are we? We are those individuals. We are the foundation that helps you heal, offer you hope, and hold your heart. Well, how do you do that? Who is your target audience? Well, the grieving audience. Okay, and what about it? And it was like, I just heard him say, you're going to have a 4-part series. It's going to be permission to grieve. It's going to be permission to heal, permission to live and laugh, and permission to love again. And I'm just like, wow. So I had to get somewhere and write it all down. And then I went back to our board and I told them about it. And they were just like, wow, okay, we're going to do all that. Because usually when you start a foundation, you're only doing one thing a year. But I said, what God says. And then on top of that, we had our anniversary. So there were 4 different things we had last year, unheard of. But God, we didn't have any money. So we depended on people making donations. And then I utilized my skills of when I was back in my radio days. And I just went to people that I've supported over the years and just said, hey, this is what we're doing. We need some sponsors. We need people to be able to help us, because all those events were free, except for the anniversary. And so the Permission to Grieve Day, we wanted to make sure people had a clear understanding that you have permission to grieve. And so we had a number of people giving their testimonies. We had a workshop. We had vendors. We had mental health experts and ministers, on a panel discussion, just talking about grief, period. And so they poured into the audience to let them know that you have permission to grieve. And so no matter what your journey looks like, you have some support mechanisms here. Everybody here is to support each other, and being able to look around the room and be able to see, I'm not the only person that's grieving. I'm not the only person that lost a husband, a child, a mother, a daughter, a cat. I'm just saying there were so many different components of it. And that people were just saying, I didn't know what to expect, but I'm so glad I came. I can't wait till the next one. And then once we acknowledged, how do you grieve? Then we came up with, how do you heal?
Right.
So then we had other individuals coming back and giving their testimonies on what their healing journey looked like. Again, we had our mental health experts. We had a workshop from Dr. Carla Mitchell, who is just a phenomenal speaker. That ties everything in from your spiritual being, your emotional being, your financial. Everything is all connected when you're trying to heal. And again, we had vendors there as well. And then we came back in November with permission to live and laugh, because sometimes people forget that you still have a life to live. Your loved one doesn't want you just to put your life on hold and just be in this space forever and not move on. So we gave individuals permission to live your life out loud, and it's okay to laugh. It doesn't take anything away from your loss. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that your loved one is no longer here. But what it does is it gives you permission to laugh, because laughter is such wonderful medicine. I mean, literally, we had a young lady who gave her testimony, and she gave it with such passion. And I was really shocked, because she had been in a domestic violence situation in a marriage. And she talked about the fact that anything that you can think of that a domestic violence situation could be, she experienced it. On top of that, she was shot.
Yes.
And lost. But she said, I'm very clear on what my assignment is, and that is to inspire and encourage other women and men, because there are some men who have experienced domestic violence, but men don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Because it makes you look like you're weak, that you allow someone to say things or do things to you. And it's not. You know, everybody has a story, but she was so proudly and graciously shared with her story. And then again, we had individuals, you know, giving their testimony. We talked, we laughed, and then we had to make everybody laugh now, right?
Yeah.
So with these phenomenal comedians.
Yeah.
Everybody that lives in the Detroit metropolitan area knows Coco.
Yeah.
And then we also had Mike Larry.
Yes, it was phenomenal.
It was just, we laughed. When I say we laughed out loud. We were rolling all over the place. It was wonderful. So even though you may start off on that very serious moment of is permission, is how do we live? How do we live out loud? But then we ended up with how do we laugh out loud?
Right.
And people just were able to be poured into, and it was just wonderful. And so for me to be able to step back and look and say, God told us to do that, and we did it, and we're making an impact. And every one of our events, including our anniversary, was maxed out.
Yes,
we would have people standing there. It's like, do we have any room? Or you go on Eventbrite and register, and people were texting and saying, "I know you're maxed out, but can I please come? Can I please come?" You know, and so God made a way for us to be able to everybody that wanted to come was able to come. And everybody that came, they were blessed. Everybody that came, they walked away with something. And when you come in, and on top of that, we fed them. We had some delicious food.
Yes.
Oh my God. And I'm telling you, the hostess and the host from Wayne County Community College District, they opened up their doors, you know, with such joy, with such compassion. They were there to make sure that every little minute detail was covered. We had volunteers that volunteered. We had close to 18 to 20 volunteers from the community that came and says, Dr. Portia, what can we do? You can volunteer. So we had we had swag bags we were giving away. Oh my God.
Yes.
God
for you to say that it was not even something that was on the table for long. I mean, the way the production and the presentation was done, you would have thought that it was in the planning for some time. Like literally in the planning for some time. And I will say this, that I heard someone say that they were glad for the live and laugh because they were feeling guilty sometimes when they would find themselves being happy and enjoying, you know, whatever was going on in life.
Yes.
And people, it was like in that moment, I thought like, yes, I love the word permission because I never thought about people really feeling guilty about laughing and living and going on. But every single thing says you have the permission to do. And I love that reminder to the people.
And sometimes people feel guilty. I feel guilty if I'm moving forward. If you telling me I got getting healed, that means that I can't grieve anymore, or I'm not being fair to the person who is no longer here with me. But I guarantee you, most individuals would want their loved ones to keep living, keep moving forward at your own pace. Grant yourself grace, no matter how long it takes you. Just take one day, one moment at a time. 1 year. Go at your own pace. Go at your own pace. Yes.
Woo. So before we proceed into the next part of the series, we have some core businesses that we have to acknowledge that have sponsored this segment. So we will be right back.
Distance in phlebotomy certification courses. Nationally accredited Phlebotomy Express training centers regularly prepare students for thriving careers in the healthcare industry. Their mission is to provide world-class training to world-class people and empower them with an education and certification to advance their lives and make a difference in the world.
Linked is a unique experience for connecting relationships in a fun, inviting, and exciting atmosphere, one bead at a time. Linked allows you to tap into your creativity and have a memorable experience where you will have a unique keepsake bracelet to forever remember the time shared. No beating experience is needed, just come prepared to have an amazing time.
Business Breakfast Series, Scaling Minority-Owned Business, hosted by the Detroit Black Chamber of Commerce. Moderator Ken Harris, PhD. January 25th from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. to the GM Theater. Registration required.
Biz Life Book Club Meetup. Presented by Charles McKay of Detroit Metro Plug Podcast and Jermaine Wyrick of Fathers Justice Law. Wednesday, January 31st, starting at 6:30 p.m. at 9300 Pardee Road, Taylor, Michigan. Virtual option via StreamYard. Chapters 1 through 5 of Atomic Habits by James Clear will be discussed.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to YouTube and search Deals with Bob and click the subscribe button.
And we're back. And here we go. Rounding it out. Permission to love again.
Yes.
Wow. I'm sure this is a good one, because I know we talked about guilt the previous segment.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, depending on the relationship, especially if this is a marriage or a long time committed relationship,
Mm-hmm.
having the permission to just to love again, to open yourself up to that.
Yes.
What were your thoughts about when you got the 4 from God, but when you thought about what would permission to love again look like? What went through your mind?
Oh, gosh. Love. So I'm all about love. I live love. I don't know if you can see this or not, but can you see this?
Let's see.
It says LOVE.
It does. LOVE.
LOVE, because I walk in love, I step in love, I live to love. So I'm all about love. Anybody that knows me, I love to love people. Okay. There was a song out years ago, maybe it was before your time, and I don't even remember who the artist was, but it was a song that says, I love to love you, baby. Love you, baby. I don't even, but it's like, I just
look like a kid.
Okay. And it's like, so I love with intention. I love with passion. And so when you think about loving again, first of all, let's back up. How well do we love ourselves? And I remember right before COVID, I hosted a I Love Myself party, and it was for women. Only women. And we talked about how do we love ourselves spiritually? What does that spiritual connection look like if you love yourself? If you love yourself, how are you taking care of your mental man? Are you getting a checkup from the neck up on a regular basis? What's going on in your mind? How are you taking care of your mentality? And then how are you loving yourself emotionally? Are you emotionally balanced? And what are you doing to keep that balance? And then how do I love myself physically? Am I going to the doctor on a regular basis, making sure that I'm getting my mammogram? Am I going to the OBGYN? If I feel something that's not quite right in my body, am I just brushing it off like it's just going to go away? Or am I going to go get it checked out? Right. And then how am I taking care of my finances? Am I overspending? Am I taking out loans that I don't need to take out? Am I maxing out my credit cards? Am I trying to keep up with everybody else and have designer, purses and cars that I can't afford? So when you love yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, what does that look like? So that's the first component of self-love, because if you don't love self, you can't love anybody else. You just can't turn anybody. You can fake like you loving yourself and try to love somebody else, but if you don't, it'll eventually come out. Yeah. So again, that's the first part, loving yourself, right? And then there may be that person whose loved one transitioned. They were in that long-term relationship. Maybe they were married, and it's just that person's no longer there. So you've had that moment to grieve. You're having that moment of healing. You've had that time to live and laugh. And now it's time to open yourself and just say, I am open to love again. I have a whole lot of love to give. And I want somebody that's going to love me from my nose to my toes and everything in between, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. Come on, bring it in.
Yes.
We want that love. But then there may be that person who went through a divorce and said, well, was it me? What was I the person that caused it? Regardless of, we all are contributors to the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not one person's fault, right? And so now that is dissolved, I've moved on, or that toxic relationship no longer exists, I can open myself up again to love again. And then sometimes we forget about those people who are, let's back it up a minute. Let's just say, for example, we did lose a loved one, period. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship. But sometimes we are so caught up in lacking loving ourselves, or just lacking love, period. We forget to love the people who are still in our space that want to love us.
Yeah.
They just want to love on us, but we keep pushing people away. And so maybe it's not your time, but eventually you'll get to the point where you say, you know what? I'm going to let my girlfriends take me out. I'm going to let somebody bless me with a massage. I'm going to let some folks take me on a girl's trip or a boy's trip and do some golfing or whatever that is. I'm going to open myself up to allow people to love me, because a lot of times people say, what can I do? And so people just begin to do things. But eventually when you say, what can I do? And you say, oh, I'm all right. I'm good. And then people push back and move on, like maybe they don't need any help, but really you do. So just be honest with yourself, just saying you're open to love. LOVE. So at this event, oh my God, we are going to have such an amazing time. We're going to have Michael Booker, who is a psalmist. Oh my goodness, I heard him sing some love ballads. And if I remember correctly, he is either a former or current member of the Four Tops. But with them or without him, this brother is magnificent. We're going to have some spoken word that will be spoken about, love poems. We're going to have an empowerment zone where we're going to have different people talking, giving their testimonies, about finding love again. And then individuals saying, what happened to me that I just lost love, period. So there's going to be so many different components. We're going to have a photo booth. We're going to have food. We're going to have a couple that's going to give us a dance demonstration. When I tell you, it's going to be jam-packed with so many wonderful things where you can fellowship. You're going to have food. You're going to have fun. There's going to be music. And some things I can't tell you everything because we got to keep listening.
Don't tell me everything. Don't spill all the tea.
Be like, wait a minute, what's going to happen next week? Because every time we have an event, it's different.
Yes, it is.
And so the main thing is you have permission. We're giving you permission to
love again. I absolutely love it. And I entitled, I don't know if you noticed, the Tonight Show, I titled it Love's Encore. Courage to love again.
Wow.
And it's like your life doesn't end. And the word encore is like, when you want someone to come back and give you more. And so when you're still on this side of heaven, there's always more for you to give. And then I said, and then I threw in courage. You give them the permission, but now you need the courage, maybe. To take that step out, And I really am excited. My only thing is that we have an event the same day, but it's to 11 to 5, depending on when someone comes in. I'm still going to, of course, sow a seed and contribute, and hopefully I can get there before it's over. But I am truly excited for this last part of the series. And now I have the big question with the tea time, because we're in tea time. If you have any tea to spill, I know you're working on this. God gave you 4. You had the anniversary prayer breakfast. Is there any tea? Is there something coming after this?
Yes. So first of all, let me just back up a little bit, because there's maybe someone saying, well, how do I know? Where is it going to be? So it's going to be on February the 17th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Wayne County Community College, Northwest District, from 4 to 7 p.m. That's right there on the flyer. And it's $25 per person, $40 per couple. And you can go right on Eventbrite and just push in permission to love, and it'll come right up, and you can get your tickets right then and there. You must have your tickets in order to enter. We will not be making any type of financial transactions at the door.
So that's good to know.
Now, what's coming next after this? It's going to be a permission day. So as opposed to having all 4 events spread out throughout the year, in July, and the date is not finalized yet, we're still working on that, a permission day where we're going to have so many different components: permission to grieve, permission to heal, permission to love again, permission to laugh again, permission to and I can't tell you all the other little things.
Don't spill all the tea.
I'm not going to spill all the tea, but here's the deal. We're really stressing it for men and women because there's going to be breakouts. So that because people will have an opportunity to choose which courses or which classes, which workshops they want to participate in.
Gotcha.
So there's going to be so much more than just these 4 components of it. But stay tuned for the next exciting episode.
I love it.
And then we're going to come back in September to wrap up the year with our second anniversary for the ABLE Foundation.
Love it. Now, Dr. Portia, before we wrap up tonight's show, because can you believe it? The hour is almost done.
Oh my goodness, yes.
We do have a couple of events to highlight, one being yours. So
yes.
Let's stay tuned as we present those.
Linked recognizes February is Heart Health Month. Join us for a heartwarming experience as we craft bracelets together that not only sparkle with creativity but also pulse with awareness for heart health. Saturday, February 3rd, anytime between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. at 24100 Southfield Road, Southfield, Michigan. Heart healthy snacks provided. Register today. Your presence will make our heart skip a beat.
Permission to Love Again, presented by the Azal Bennett Lockett Foundation. Saturday, February 17th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Wayne County Community College District Northwest Campus, 8200 West Outer Drive, Detroit, Michigan. Cost is $25 to $40 per person or per couple. Register on Eventbrite. It's that time again. Join AWN Cares for Red Dot Bags Packing Party. Saturday, February 17th from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Carhartt Workshop, 5800 Cass Avenue, 2nd floor, Detroit, Michigan. RSVP at www.awncares.org/events. Come for fun and fellowship as we do our part to end period poverty.
Let us support you and your upcoming event by promoting it on our show. Visit www.dealswithbob.com and contact us today, and we will begin promoting you tomorrow. Together we make it happen.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by going to YouTube and search Deals with Bob and click the subscribe button.
Okay, so we're back in our last segment. OMG. I have to find out about this that was added to the slide deck. First and foremost, you look phenomenal. And I'm just looking at the expressions that you gave. I do not know how this slipped past me. I'm just looking at the date, November 17th, and I'm thinking, what was going on? How did I miss this? Share a little bit. What did you share?
So for you all that don't know about this, you have to follow, first of all, this whole movement of the Secret Society of Storytellers. And what this sister does, Shatori does, is every month, it's usually the 3rd Friday of every month, where she brings in different storytellers and she gives us a theme and we go at it. So the first time I did this, pretty much the same segment back in March, and it was a theme about queens, right? And then she brought back the best of, and so I was invited back for the best of, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I consider one of the best, all right? And so, I basically shared a story, about how I grew up, mimicking my mom, who was the first person who actually showed me how to be a queen. And one of in the story I was telling, I talked about how my mother, she walked like a queen, like Nefertiti. She smelled like a queen, like sweet honey. And she even spoke like a queen. And whenever you would hear my mother talk, she talked so eloquently. And she would have these signs up in her kitchen. And one simply said, "I'm the queen of this kitchen. I reign supreme. If you don't like it, starve." So and then another one would say something like, good, better, best, never let it rest until your good is better and your better is your best. So it's like, she had all these affirmations, and she would always tell us to stand up straight and elevate our chests, and like, I remember having these books on top of my head when I was a little girl so that we could focus on having good posture and not looking, bent over, and slouched over. And so hold your head up high. You're proud. Be proud when you go out there and you speak, and learn how to command the audience. And so it's so interesting now that people will tell me, like, Portia, when you walk in a room, you just, you command the room.
In the room.
It's like I can hear my mother saying, stand up straight, straighten out your back, hold your head up high, speak like you got something to say, So
Love it.
yeah, it talked about the relationship that she and my dad had, and how he treated her like a queen, and she treated him like a king, and it went on to talk about, queens don't always smile, they cry. So I talked about how right now, experiencing for the first time that I can recollect is the funeral celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, and how I saw my mother cry. And then I went on to talk about, the loss of my son. And even though, that was the most horrific, traumatic situation I've ever experienced in my life, but at some point I had to look myself in the mirror and get my queenship back, straighten up my back again, put that smile back on my face, keep my crown on, and then not only pour into myself, but also pour into others.
Wow.
So when we look in the mirror, this is what I see.
That's just amazing.
Yes.
So amazing. I would have to be on the lookout for that. I didn't know it was an ongoing type of presentation, but I know you just, with what you shared, it had to be phenomenal to be there, and that's probably why you got invited back. So maybe you'll have a third encore, and I'll be able to catch that one.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something real quick. This is so interesting that you entitled the show this evening Encore. My youngest son, his name is Encore.
Really?
We never talked about that. Yes.
No.
So we used to always say, Encore, Encore, give us more. And he had a teacher that would just say, Encore, Encore, you're so good. You had to give us, another encore. It was just, she had all these different, ways of just recognizing him and making him feel special.
Oh, yes. Wow. No, I didn't know that. Divine order.
Divine order, yes.
So, Dr. Portia, and I know you probably have many. What book is currently on your nightstand, or that you've recently read, or would highly recommend reading?
Quite a few. But there's one that, and I have not read it, but I've listened to it. I love Audible books. But it is called The Game of Life and How to Play It. The Game of Life and How to Play It. It's an old book, but it's so prevalent, and it's just everything that it talks about now. It's all about mindset. Because a lot of times we get so stuck in thinking that there are certain things that we are not worthy of having, or things that we can't have, but it's changing your mindset and calling forth the things that you want. And I have this mantra that I say all the time, that whatever you think, you're going to eventually speak it. If you speak it, it's going to manifest. So if it's not something that you don't want, don't give it any thought. Right. Only focus on things that you want to manifest in your life. Think on godly things. Think on good things. Don't dwell on all what shoulda, coulda happened and all those things. We can't rewind the tape. Let's talk about in the present. What do we want to come forth in 2024?
Yes.
What do we want to manifest in our lives in 2024? So if you get this book, The Book of Life and How to Play It, I guarantee you it will be a blessing to you.
I love that. Love it. Thank you. I have it written down. Yes. Now, as we're in our last few minutes, how can people connect with you? Provide your website, your social media, the best way people to connect, to be engaged.
Yes. So to stay engaged with me, you can follow me. I have two websites. Two websites I want to share with you. The first one is my personal website, Dr. Portia, DrPortia Lockett, LOCKETT.com, drportialockett.com. All right. And it tells you all the different programs that I do personally. And then we also have the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation.org, where you can follow all of the programs, all of the things that we've been doing with the Azel Benet Lockett Foundation. If you want to follow me on social media, you can simply follow me at Portia Lockett on Instagram. And on Facebook. And if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, it's Dr. Portia Lockett on LinkedIn. And there's a couple of things out there on Thread. There's some new things out Thread and TikTok, but I don't, I'm evolving into that. Okay.
My doctor told me earlier this week, you need to put your stuff on TikTok. I'm like, I'm trying to keep up with the old stuff.
Yes.
No. Any final remarks that you would like to share that we didn't come up in the conversation yet?
Just whatever it is that you want in your life, regardless of whether it's dealing with grieving, period, you have permission to move forward. You have permission to be everything that you desire to be. You have permission to be the best mother, the best wife, the best husband, the best business owner, the best neighbor, whatever it is that's on your to-do list. You have the permission to go out there and make it happen. Whatever it is, whatever's been holding you back, just saying, you know what, I'm not going to let fear hold me back anymore. I'm giving myself permission to be the best person, the greatest person, to evolve into everything God called me to be, evolve into my purpose. Whatever it is, you have permission to do just that unapologetically, on purpose, with intention, on purpose.
On purpose. I love it. You have permission. Yes. I love it. And I want to acknowledge Cheryl Brooks. Thank you for joining. Make sure you share with others. I appreciate your support. Oh, I love it. You have permission. I love that. And I'm going to even say my spirit hit someone that needed to hear this out there. It just came in my spirit as you were speaking. You have permission even to maybe give certain relationships a rest. I'll put it that way. You have permission to do that. If it is not allowing you to have the self-care, if it's not allowing you to move forward with your purpose, if it's not allowing you to focus on what you know God told you to do, you have permission to give certain relationships a rest. And that's how I'll put it. Just hit my spirit. So whoever was watching that needed that, there you go.
And you know what? If I can just say that, and sometimes you have to give yourself permission to eliminate people. Period.
Yeah, I was trying not to go that hard.
But it's the truth, because when you say pause for a minute or stop for a minute, that means you're going to give that person permission to go pick up that relationship again.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And sometimes that's the case. But in reality, when you're in a toxic relationship and that person is bringing you nothing but harm and no joy, you have permission to say enough is enough is enough and move on. You have permission to just leave whatever and move on. You have permission to forgive yourself, because sometimes we hold ourselves hostage. So I'm going to encourage everybody to inhale, exhale, forgive yourself and everybody else so that you can move on. You have permission.
Yes, I love that. I love it. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And thank you for saying the heart. I always try to sugarcoat stuff. And I need to say a special thank you and acknowledgement to some additional core businesses for their support of tonight's show: the Amazing Woman Network, True to You Candles, Bright Tech Communications, and Tax Divas. If you have not already done so, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. When you're on YouTube, do a search for Deals with Bob. Click the subscribe button. And while you're there, go ahead and click that notification bell so that you will be notified each and every time we go live. And next Wednesday, make sure you mark your calendars, as we will be having a conversation with the phenomenal Mr. Marvin Cotton. It is a conversation that we must have. You won't want to miss it. Make sure you put this in your calendar. Again, Dr. Portia, it has been such a joy to have spoken with you this evening. The conversation, of course, I knew would not disappoint. I truly appreciate the work that you're doing. I am one of your cheerleaders behind the scene. And if you ever need to lean on me and I can do it, you know I'm there for you.
Yes.
And I want to thank all of you guys for watching tonight. Make sure, again, you share this with someone who couldn't watch the live segment and they can watch the replay. Permission. You have permission, is how I want to end it. I am Sonia Weaver. I encourage you to spend with purpose because your dollars do matter, and deal with Bob. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.